of the pop culture news here on The Experience. Hope you're having a great day. And we're going to just jump right into the news because there's a lot going on, especially coming out of New York Comic Con. We're going to start with Sony had a panel at New York Comic Con, and one of the films they focused on was the upcoming Venom: The Last Dance. Now, the panel featured, I learned to talk today, co-writer Tom Hardy, starring co-writer Tom Hardy, co-writer and director Kelly Marcel, and actors Juno Temple and Chiwetel Ejiofor. Now, Hardy expressed his adoration for playing the part, as he's deeply involved in the fiber of it, he said. But part three picks up after part two. Eddie and Venom are fugitives on the run, outed from the big finale of Venom Let There Be Carnage. Hardy talks about this being his last time as the anti hero. He says it's sad to see him go. Marcel talked about their starting point for the story, saying, "We're always starting with the comics and the books. It always starts there." She also teased that while this is the last Venom movie, there are other symbiote stories still to be told, and this threequel will likely nod its way to what's next. Now, this goes with the report that we've been hearing that Null will be introduced in the film, but will be used later on. So, will Null end up carrying over into the MCU? How will that work? We don't know yet. But another movie they talked about is Craven the Hunter, and they showed the first 7 minutes. And this is we see Craven, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, breaking into a Russian prison as an inmate. He's basically going in as an inmate before revealing that he's there to kill a mob boss, which he does with the use of a tooth from a Siberian tiger rug. Seems appropriate, which is an interesting way to start a film. Now, Craven is then chased through the woods by a team of soldiers, one of whom gets a bear trap wrapped around his face. Ow. And if you can't tell from the description, the director J.C. Chandler laid it out a little more specifically, calling this some really intense grindhouse. Now, Craven being a grindhouse style movie was not on my bingo card at all. But it does kind of make the film more interesting, doesn't it? I mean, a good grindhouse style movie with Craven sounds kind of fun. Aaron Taylor Johnson was on stage as well with the director and said that of Craven, he's real. He's not a visual effects monster. He's a man who has made a choice to be a hunter. And he went on to talk about his connection to the environment because there's been a lot about Craven being an eco warrior. He said, like all great hunter, Craven respects his prey, top of the food chain. He's hunter, not a poacher. Like every hunter knows, sometimes you have to call the herd to call order. Once he applies it to human beings, it becomes kind of a dark story. Now, Craven's going to be in theaters December 13th, just in time for Christmas. For those of you watching Agatha all along, it's surprising to learn that Joe's Locke's real identity in the show wasn't always the plan. Now, if you've already seen it, great. If you haven't, spoiler, but we now know who he is. And this, again, wasn't the original plan. Jack Schaefer talked about the series. She said, I know it sort of feels like it should have been self-evident. I mean, we had an idea that we were locked on before the writer's room. So it was early, but in my early brainstorming for Agatha all along, it was so important to me that it be her story. But once that piece clicked in, it did feel right. Now, so yeah, it was going to be no Billy. That was it. Schaefer said that her original idea said, my early idea was I wanted some sort of goth teen character or a group of goth teens. I love The Craft, the movie, and I really liked the idea of this ancient witch coming to contact with younger witches. I feel that Agatha is at her best as a mentor. So I was looking for that relationship. It was executive producer Mary Livanos who came up with the idea of Billy for that role. Then once we were into it, okay, it's going to be Billy. How do we do that? What do we do? Those specific conversations with Marvel, especially, I don't remember a lot of details to them. I mostly remember being in the writer's room and trying to figure out who this young man is and how we can best serve him. The structure that we came up with, where he is this eager fanboy who loves witchcraft and is studying at the feet of these women, we loved front loading with that, but it felt thin and disingenuous to have that be all there is. So it was so fun to be able to bake it so that his complexity and darkness and the texture of him would detonate at the midpoint. Now, the powered version of Billy, called Wiccan, first appeared in the Young Avengers, a group of teen heroes that we've been meeting all over the MCU. I mean, they've been popping up like crazy. Schaefer was asked if this was part of bringing the team together. She said, "I'm not working on anything right now for Marvel, but it is my hope that there will be more of him, both because I'm such an admirer of Joe and because I think the character is really interesting." So she doesn't know anything about a Young Avengers thing, but she hopes that it happens, or at least we get more of Joe Locke. Fans of Our Flags Mean Death, and there's a lot of them out there. I'm surprised this show hasn't been saved yet. It really is a very vocal community. Well, your captain from there, Reese Darby, will be boarding a very different ship coming up, one that flies through space. Darby will be guest starring in the upcoming third season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Now, this, of course, is a series based on Captain Christopher Pike, played by Anson Mount, as the captain of the Enterprise, the years before uh, James T. Kirk gets on board. His first officer is Rebecca Romaine, and of course, Science Officer Spock is played by Ethan Peck. Now, details on Darby's role remains a secret, but the series has already added Cillian O'Sullivan as the legacy character Dr. Roger Corby, and they do like playing with legacy characters, so maybe Darby will be somebody fun. Maybe he'll be Fudge. He would be an interesting Fudge. Yeah, Fudge or Fud. You know which if you're a Star Trek fan, you know which character I'm talking about. The third season is set to debut on Paramount Plus in 2025. No more specific date than that. All right, back to New York Comic Con. Attendees were surprised by an appearance of Daredevil Born Again stars Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio. Along with unveiling a teaser trailer for the new series, it was also revealed that the first episode will debut on Disney Plus on March 4th, 2025. That's a little sooner than we were thinking, but not much. Now, the 9-part series brings back Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk from the original Netflix series that ran for 3 seasons on Netflix and ended in 2018. Now, the rest of the cast is going to be filled with both some new actors and some returning actors from the Netflix series. Margarita Laviva is joining the cast. Deborah Ann Woll is back. Eldon Henson is back. Then we get Sabrina Guevara, Nikki James, Ganea Walton, Artie Froshin, Clark Johnson, Michael Gandolfini. But we also have returning Ayelet Zurer as Vanessa, and of course, John Bernthal as the Punisher. Let's go back to Agatha. During the 6th episode of Agatha All Along, we got a glimpse of what Agatha Harkness was up to, played by Catherine Hahn, of course, all those years between, killing her coven and showing up in Westview. Now, the series used newspaper clippings and internet searches to show that what she'd been kind of around a lot of major tragedies, the Hindenburg, the Titanic, stuff like that. But there was one particular glimpse of a headline that claims Agatha was the inspiration for the Dolly Parton hit song Jolene. Now, Jack Schaefer has confirmed that yes, that is what they're saying. She explained that they had given the writers' room an assignment to come up with 5 low-level nefarious things that Agatha could have done in the past. She said, "I remember being one of the most fun days in the room was everybody coming in with their sort of low-level Agatha nasties. And that was Laura Donnie." She said, like, "She's Jolene." And we just like fell out. It was so funny. Now, Dolly Parton has said, excuse me, I'm sure she sneezed as well. Parton has said that in the past that the song was about a red-headed bank clerk that would flirt with Parton's husband, Carl Dean, whenever he would go into the bank. So She was a little worried about Jolene. So it being Agatha would kind of be fun. So, all right. Did you guys catch Penguin? The latest episode, fifth episode of The Penguin. Man, that show is awesome. Viewers don't seem to mind the lack of a true hero, though. I mean, the fact that Batman's not in it doesn't seem to care. The Penguin has continued to do really well on Sunday nights, gaining each week, episode to episode. Now, the Colin Farrell star averaged 1.8 million U.S. cross-platform viewers. That's the strongest single day performance of the series so far, which is up from 1.7 million. So it's gaining like 100,000 new viewers each week that are watching it during its debut 24 hours. That's incredible for the show to be gaining that much. But also, the first episode has now tallied over 14 million viewers. This show's getting a lot of attention. So again, expect some Emmy nods on this. This has really been good. Zoe Saldana has been part of some of the biggest franchises in film history. She's Nathan in Avatar, Gamora in the MCU, and Uhura in Star Trek. She's been in two films that have grossed over $2 billion, and her total box office haul is more than 14 billion. But she feels that in doing all of these big budget movies and sequels and stuff, that maybe she started taking the characters for granted and lost some of the the artistic side of it. She said, "I wish I could go back and do a better job for Gamora and Uhura, but I guess I think I did enough, but I could have done more. That's just how I am." Now, Saldana has said that she's decided to take on more risky roles now that she's turned 40. She's in a new film called Amelia Perez, which is definitely on the riskier side. But, and she considers her time with the Guardians to be done. But she hopes the character of Gamora continues on, saying, "Let it be a brown girl to play Gamora. Give the opportunity to a woman of color and see what the new Gamora is going to bring to the table. Like I brought Nyota Uhura to the table with Nichelle Nichols' blessing." So she is giving Marvel, go ahead, recast, get yourself a new actress, but please keep it a woman of color. And I'm good with that. I think that's a good idea. So we don't know if they're going to do a full reboot after Phase 6, with the Secret Wars and stuff, but it could be a good time to kind of reset some of the characters of the actors who have wanted to move on. And now, my favorite story is the last story of the day. Again, you guys know me. I'm a huge fan of Batman Hush. It is my favorite all-time comic series. If I was going to buy somebody a Batman comic, I would buy them the trade of Hush, because I think it's just, to me, it's the perfect way to tell a Batman story. You get all the villains, you get great art, good mystery, good storytelling, great coloring, I mean, it's an amazing book. And we got confirmation that at New York Comic Con that Batman Hush 2 will be kicking off in March of 2025 with issue number 158 of the Batman series. Now, this is important because the original Hush storyline took place within the regular continuity from like 608 or 609 on. So that was important. They didn't do a new number one then, and they're not doing that now. It's the next creative team in the line. Now, it will also reunite the original creative team. Like I said, they were so good then. Jeff Loeb, Jim Lee, Scott Williams, Alex Sinclair, and Richard Starkings. And if you don't know, Jeff is a great writer. He's also the guy who taught Matt Reeves screenwriting. He was Matt Reeves' screenwriting teacher. But he's written some of the best Batman stories besides Hush, Long Halloween, The Dark Victory. The guy is really good with Batman. Jim Lee, of course, one of my favorite artists. Scott Williams is probably the best anchor on Jim Lee. They work together so well. You throw Alex Sinclair's colors in there, and it is perfect. It is what they did with Wildcats, is what they did with X-Men. It's a great team. And then Richard Starkings is one of the top letterers in the industry, but he works so well with this group. So I'm really excited about this. Now, there's going to be a prelude to this story, and it's going to appear in Justice League Unlimited #1, which will be out in November. Then the series will kick off in March, like I said, with Batman #158, and it'll be a 6-issue story that revolves the original Hush storyline from 2 decades ago. 2 decades, wow, time flies. Now, this creative team, though, like I said, they're just moving into the next spot. It's going to be when Chip Zdarsky and Jorge Jimenez finish up their current storyline. So that's going to run until February, and then in March, Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee take over. So, all right, guys, that's the news for today. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to stick around. We've got Minute to Skim It. We've got Kicking It with Henri, and I believe 360 Comics. So that's our lineup for tonight. So come back for that. And then I will be back on Thursday, where we're going to dive a little more into Wiccan on the Dan Wickline Show, and of course talk about the Penguin. So I'll see you guys then. Have a great day. Take care of yourself.